Friends, welcome to our slightly late November garden tour. At first I debated doing this as actually a short because we're descending into winter. There is not a lot of new fresh things that are coming into bloom yet. I've got about maybe another month or two before I have some new blooms on the horizon. But then I was like, you know what? This would be a good time because I've got projects that I want to update you on and all sorts of good stuff. First thing on the tour is my wreath and my garland. These were so fun to construct. They turned out beautifully, and they've been up for over a week, probably the wreath for 2 weeks now. And I had some questions come through on the channel about kind of longevity, things drying out, this, that, and the other thing. I also made a little adjustment to a few of those items. But to answer some questions, I used a variety of forage materials. Do I expect them to be green forever? No. No, I do not, because they're cut and they're out in the atmosphere. So just like your wreath always ends up crunchy, a lot of these elements are going to dry out. The key is choosing which elements are going to stand up to the elements the longest. So I'm going to show you what a week out of water looks like and how it is doing. Okay, so coming across the top, everything is actually still in just perfectly peak formation. This has not wilted at all. I mean, you can see up there my fern just high and mighty. But what I will say is that I chose a lot of things that don't wilt in the traditional sense. They will get dry. They will probably get a little bit crispy at some point, but they're not going to look gross, if that makes any sense. One thing you can do if you are creating a wreath or a garland like this is you can use like a wilt protector. There's something called Wilt Stop, and that will help. But for me, I'm not concerned about spraying it. The other comment that I got is people wanting me to zhuzh more on the sides, and I totally agree. I'll take you back here. I totally agree. You know what I should have done? I should have actually gotten more down to about right there so it tapers. Someone called it mediumalist, and I was like, that is so perfect. Overall, here's the deal. I could spend the next 12 years fancying up my garland, but I think for me and my life, this is totally fine for now. In future years, I may go bigger. We'll see. I do want to take you in here. This eucalyptus wreath, this is performed really beautifully. The doorknob, or excuse me, the bells when we open and close the door is actually super fun. I did, however, add one thing. Okay, I'm going to take you in here. I've hidden right here. I don't even know if you can see that, but I have hidden the connector to some fairy lights. Just to give you some information, these are indoor-outdoor fairy lights by Philips. They do have a timer on them. Actually, let me show that to you. And you can see what I've done here. I just hid it in the back. This is a weatherproof casing, super easy to put in the batteries, and you can do all sorts of settings. So you can do clear, you can do color. These change into multicolored lights. You can have them fading, you can have them flashing. I'm kind of a traditionalist, so I'm going with the static white. And then it also has a timer option. So what this means is when you click this button, so this is on, that's off. And then this one, this means it'll go on for 4 hours and then off for 20. Gosh, or maybe it's on for 6, off for 18. I have to go check the instructions, but really, really easy to set. And it has transformed how I'm greeted coming home. I will see if I can insert a video of these lights at night, but I have added a single strand of fairy lights to the wreath. And then to connect it down here, I have added another strand of fairy lights to this arrangement. You can see them coming through just right here. I chose to go with a fairy light because I just felt like it would be more ethereal and lovely. And also, this is such a lovely way to be welcomed home at the end of the day. I also have 2 more sets of those fairy lights, and I had a couple different ideas. I could actually probably extend it all the way across the top. Or the other thought that I had is, you know, the 2 large containers on my patio? I thought I could also just zhuzh up just those 2 containers. I don't know. I kind of like the idea that I might add them to the garland just at this kind of like front threshold, just for a little extra twinkle. Okay, behind me is my hedging. This is my yew hedge. Now, when you plant a yew hedge, one thing that I think this plant for me is well known for is this one takes quite a bit of time to get established. This year, like during the growing season, I started to actually see more growth. So I was having a ton of needle drop that first year. And then the second full year, I did see some growth. So now this coming year is we're really going to see these kind of come into their full glory. I do get a lot of questions about hedging material. I will tell you, if I'm going for something that has like a needle-like texture, I prefer an Irish yew or an arborvitae. There's tons of beautiful arborvitae varieties out there. Sometimes they're called Athuya. The other thing, if I go with a broadleaf, some frequently used broadleaf evergreens are laurels. However, I don't do an English laurel. We're talking about a Shipka laurel or even a Portuguese laurel. That's really pretty because it has like a red stem. In any event, I always get asked about hedging, privacy moments. I feel like privacy needs its own YouTube video. So let me know if that's something you'd like me to tackle, because there's so many creative ways that that get to kind of enforce privacy when you're working on a city lot, which is most of what I do. And this is kind of a little up close of what I mean. Some of my yews, they have more of their branches showing through the needles. This one is actually maybe a little bit more yellow than I would like to see versus its neighbor. You can see actually right here, this is all new growth from this past season, and it is looking very much more full, lush, and a deeper green. These ones benefit from more shade in the afternoon, kind of like protecting it from the hot afternoon sun. So this is why the ones at the end have actually performed better than the ones as we kind of peer on down the line. They do get to be a little bit more yellow. I'm not concerned. I just know that this is a phase and they'll grow out of it. Okay, friends, next item on the tour. I feel like this is where I'm verging into like an empties territory. These, like how like skincare and makeup people on YouTube do empties? This is my empties. These are my Blundstones. As you can see, I've got like a lot of like, they're getting a little bit misshapen, really just a ton of wear here on the toe. These ones are caked in mud from being on job sites, but also down here at the bottom, like this, I don't know if you can tell, but it is super faded out and I'm losing some of the tread here. This one you can see a little bit more. I've got gashes coming through here, 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 just kind of everywhere. These are lovely boots. I am not going to throw them away. However, I did invest in a new pair when I did some Small Business Saturday shopping in Ballard. I will link that video below. These, my friends, these are the new Blundstones. I am so excited about these. So the reason that I chose these guys is because I really miss the rounded toe. I wanted to do something different, and so I got these ones that have more of that squared toe. And they've worked really well, but I do miss kind of that rounded toe look. And I decided to go with one in a chocolate brown. The other reason I got these is because if you can see on the inside, these are their thermal editions. So they are lined, they have a footbed that is lamb's wool or sheepskin. What do they call that? They have a sheepskin footbed, and then the leather also has a thermal lining in it. We actually get our coldest months usually in January, sometimes going into February. That's when we really dip down and have freezing temps. And so I bought these knowing that I would probably be out in the elements at that time of year, and I really want my toes to be cold. I really wanted my toes to be toasty. Now, the other thing I picked up that I didn't show you guys was this. This is the Blundstone Renovating Cream, and this one does not have any coloration in it, so I can use it on brown, or I can use it on my old black Blundstones. And so what I'm going to do is I've really been into using up what I have. And there's like a deep satisfaction that comes when I know I've used up like every drop of something and it's just been like a great purchase. Like my money has been well spent. you know? So these little cuties that are looking a little lackluster and a little forlorn, I'm going to wash these up. And by the way, I've like fully stepped in a puddle in this thing and my feet stayed dry. So that's super cool too. I'm going to go ahead and give them a little spa treatment with my new renovating cream. And we're going to see if we can't get these back to some sort of, I don't know, working condition. Just make them a little prettier, give them a little bit of love. And then the other thing, I was at the Blundstone store and they gave me a suggestion of a cobbler who is in Fremont. Apparently, he's super, super, super good, and people will full on ship their hiking boots to him. And so I wonder if he can work some magic on my Blundstones. Okay, friends, here we are. This is the bulb planter. This is the lasagna planter that I did with all of those gorgeous toppings. And gosh, I haven't been back here to pinch out the dead stuff here in a couple of days. Gosh, maybe even a week. But look at these little cuties. We got down to 36 last night and happy as a little clam. Just doing their thing. You know, one question that I actually got on Instagram, funny enough, was someone who had done a bulb planter, which, yay, good job. But then when they were looking down in the soil, and I was going to see if I had any, but as they were looking down in the soil, they noticed that their bulbs were already popping up. Oh, look at some little monster's been in here. Little bugger. In any event, what I wanted to tell you guys is not to worry about anything like that because bulbs are smart, they're durable, and sometimes they will send up a little bit of greenery before their time comes to actually come up and bloom, and it's totally fine. They will survive. You will survive. Like that. These are the primrose yellow pansies that I just love, love, love. I used 2 different purple pansies, and then I've got this little cute viola. And then this is the Carrick's Feather Falls, which I love. As it gets bigger, it'll become more and more of a drapey element. And then this is a sweet little Erica Heather. As an update, this is the clematis that I had in my front pot. This is the Ragucci. And I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me try to highlight it behind my finger. Do you see those 2? Let's see if I can do this. Hold on. There's one right here. That's probably the easiest to see. And then there's one right here. These are little growth points for this clematis that I transplanted from the front. I'm not going to worry about these growth points coming up, but I love that this sucker is still alive and doing well. And I'm going to have some awesome growth come springtime. How cool is that? So we have jumped down here to the cut flower garden, and I wanted to update you on my ranunculus and my anemones. Now I am in a zone, I garden like a zone 7, but technically I'm a zone 8. And so I can fall plant my anemones and ranunculus. If you haven't done that and you're in my zone, just push pause, go ahead and wait, pick back up in the spring. But I fall planted mine and they've been growing on for quite some time now, and they are doing really, really good and they look super healthy. So I'm going to spin you around and I'm going to show you. So far, everything is going really, really well. Here we are with our ranunculus. This is looking just perfect. You can see this is probably one of the ones that had more growth than, say, for example, this one that is just emerging, but all of them look super healthy. I did mulch them with a bit of this garden straw. I will tell you though, the birds have been out here having a heyday with this stuff. It is hilarious. Also kind of annoying, but mostly hilarious. Now, by contrast, check this out. This is one of the ranunculus that I pre-sprouted at the exact same time, but I'm growing this on as an experiment in my basement. For those of you wanting to know about the white stuff, that is diatomaceous earth. I am trying to see if this will help cut down on little fungus gnats that I have going on in there. But all in all, looking really good. So if you plant this in the spring in warmer temps and it just gets up and moving, it's going to be more like this. When you fall plant, this is absolutely perfect and totally a reasonable expectation. Okay, now coming down here, I wish I had some anemones inside that I could show you, but I'm not growing them on inside. This is my anemone, and it is like So happy. The foliage is just the happiest darn thing. And again, growing really, really well. It seems like most of them have emerged. I'm maybe missing like one or two here and there. But all in all, they are doing really, really well. And so I have no doubt in my mind that these will continue looking great and then be up and rolling in the spring. Okay, my dears, I have one big final tour situation for you that I'm so excited about. And man, these are my heirloom chrysanthemums. They're on their last little bit. We got down super duper cold, so some of their petals are fading, but I did not want to miss capturing the breadth and width of all of the chrysanthemums that we grew this year. And so what I've done is I've actually clipped some heads for you, and we're going to do a little flat lay tour. And this is also selfishly for my own records because it's so important to know from year to year what you're doing, and I want to try new things and compare them and all that good stuff. I also need to figure out what I'm going to do about these things over the winter. Am I going to cut them back? Am I going to dig them up and try to bring them inside? I mean, it's hard to know what the right move is, and so I think I may reach out to the evergreen chrysanthemum folks and see what their recommendation is. Let's jump into the tour. We are starting off with Jessie Hapsgood. I've pulled all the tags, which I need to remember to put away so I don't lose my mind. But this is Jessie Hapsgood. This one bloomed super late for me, and it's really feathery. It's super feathery. Like its petals feel a little bit more delicate than all the other chrysanthemums, but really a great one. Very much creamy ivory, a little bit of yellow in there. Next, we have Jane Sharp. I think this is one of my most favorite kind of like shapes with the inverted petals or the reflex petals on the inside. I think they call them incurve. I'm still learning. But color was fabulous. Shape is fabulous. Really, really loved that one. And this one bloomed late. These both bloomed pretty late. The other one that was a late bloomer for me that I'm also loving is Oriental Night. Is this the coolest? It's much smaller. It's very like spidery and frilly. And look at this one. It totally has like a ponytail coming out the middle. It is so stinking cool. And this one is another late bloomer, but totally worth it. Oh, and each one of these petals, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pick this up. They're like little tiny tubes. They are so cute. Okay, next we are moving over to Connie Mayhew. This is one that I almost wish I had cut back to a singular stem because you can see how just totally beefy this thing is. I mean, there's my hand. It fills the whole thing. And you can see all these are small for end of season, but this would have been really cool to grow on. And this is one of the ones that the club has as kind of like a fan favorite. This next one is Descanso. You have seen it before. It was an early bloomer. And unfortunately, early blooms means early fade. This one is probably the most hit. But if you look at any of my other previous videos, you will see this one in all her glory. This one was so, so beautiful. It is just delicate and fluffy and lovely. Okay, this next one. This guy is so cute. So this is, let me actually move that. This is not the right plant tag. But this one is Polar Anderton. And this is actually, I think, mislabeled. I think instead of Polar Anderton, I think we discovered I have Jill Anderton, but really a sweet shape. And this is one of the first bloomers that I had and performed so well for me. This next one is Coco Boomy. And it is definitely blooming smaller, end of season, but a really great shape and a very just statuesque form. So this was another super fun one. Coming over here, the last tour you guys saw this all budded up, and now she is here. This one is Nightingale. And it's so funny. This is why I think they trim them back to one per, because they get tangled. But look at that. This one is more of that, has more of like an acidy lemon yellow quality to it, but really fun, super curly tips. They remind me of like curly eyelashes. And so that is Nightingale. So cute. This next one is one that I've grown and cut and cut and cut and cut. And it's late season, so it's throwing much smaller blooms, but this one is Heather James. And we really enjoyed this one this past year. This one was so fun. What I kind of love about some of these late season blooms is their color starts to get a little wild cardy. So this one has like very much a marigold center. Okay, this next one, gosh, I gotta remember which one this is. I didn't pull the tag. I think I said something to myself like, oh, I'll remember this one. Hang tight, please hold. Okay, I found out what it is. This one is Nigel Bigo. And it's so funny. This one is really reminiscent of that little cutie up there. But this one seems a little bit deeper and has more of like a brown taupey quality to it. That's really cool. Anyways, really fun. And this one is throwing blooms right now like you wouldn't believe. It's awesome. Okay, what others? Oh, this is another new one. You guys haven't seen this one before. This is Mount Rainier. Would you look at that thing? It is so fun. It is so big. It is so frilly. And you know what's funny is I actually thought it was going to be more pale and ethereal, but actually it's got quite a bit of color to it. It really only fades at the very center. Here's another one. This one's a bit smaller, but look how gorgeous that is. And then last but not least is this little stunner that you have seen time and time again. Okay, does this not look like a whole bunch of sea urchins just like gathered in the garden? This one is Serafina. And I do have to say, this is probably the top producer. It has gone crazy. And even now, it shows no sign of frost damage. It is just still carrying on. Oh, and look at this. When you turn it over, I love it when you have a flower that just gives you two different color stories, depending on which way you face it. So there we are. I feel like this is the parade of heirloom chrysanthemums that I grew this year. And I tried to grow a little bit of a lot of different shapes and sizes. And this was such a fun experiment. So if you have not stretched your wings, tried something new lately, please let this be an encouragement to do something fun this year. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this chili garden tour for November. I feel so good that I was able to give you one last overview of the chrysanthemum experiment, all the little things that I'm just kind of like doing almost behind the scenes. It just, day in the life of a gardener. But we should have our last frost any day now. And then I got to get to digging dahlias. We have work to do. So I will for sure be seeing you in the next one. And in the meantime, please say hello to your garden for me.